Oh, hell yeah. I don't take shit lightly. Of course, today wasn't my best day. I didn't feel the very best, but then again, it's okay. It's not everybody has their days, but see how it is. We'll see them next week again. I really don't care who I face at the plate. I ain't afraid of anybody. I'm gonna throw my best shit that I have and throw what I can. But other than that, that's about it. They had a good game today. They fought back. They took advantage of some pitches that I left over the plate. Next time, gotta try to fix that. See how it goes.
It's remarkable how things have changed for the Padres and the NL West in the course of just a few days. Hi, everybody. Happy Monday. Welcome to Marty Time TV. I am Marty Caswell. We were brought to you by the all-new Hamul Casino Resort, the Players Place. That was Jeremiah Estrada from the finale against the Dodgers just last week when he had a really, really rough inning. And boy, things have changed for the Padres and the NL West. I'm glad to go ahead and bring in Alden Gonzalez of ESPN, who many of you know. He was at Petco Park last weekend. I'm sure he's probably getting ready right now to go ahead and head to Dodger Stadium and do live reports. There's been just a bit of news, small, tiny news. You may have missed it about who's starting for the Padres tonight. Some guy named Shohei Ohtani. Do I have this right, Alden?
Yeah, something like that. He's that DH who won the MVP last year, going 50-50. Apparently, he also pitches. Yeah.
Well, that's going to be quite something. I mean, I thought today the biggest piece of news we would have coming in is that Jackson Merrill is on the concussion list, and that's terrible for the Padres. One of their most important players. I had planned to ask you about, Tatis Jr. and what you saw from Padres Dodgers when you were here just last week, but then some news broke yesterday. Devers to the Giants. Alden, if I'm going to ask you right now, what's the biggest news? Because when it comes to headlines, the most popular player on this planet is going to be Shohei Ohtani. But when it comes to what's more important for the NL West and how it may affect the Padres, what's more significant, do you think, at this point? The Giants trading a stunner for Devers, who was in the middle of year 2 of a $300 million extension, or the Dodgers getting Ohtani back on the mound?
It's a Devers trade. There's no question about it. Just because of the wide-ranging impact of it, because how long he's going to be there. We knew Shohei Ohtani was going to pitch at some point. And as you mentioned, Marty, he's going to pitch 1 inning, maybe 2 in the opener. This is just basically a continuation of his rehab at this point. It's a huge development nonetheless.
Yes.
But that the Giants were able to secure Rafael Devers, one of the 10 best hitters in baseball, somebody that they desperately needed in their lineup. I mean, you sort of take a poll throughout the industry, and everybody was just so fascinated to see what Buster Posey was going to do in his first trade deadline. And you take a wide-ranging look at the Giants roster, what they needed more than anything else to supplement that great pitching staff, that bullpen that has been the best in baseball all year, basically, was a big bat at either first base or DH. And the fact that Buster Posey went all in the way he did to secure Rafael Devers to play, and it sounds like he'll play first base, something he wasn't willing to do with the Red Sox. Huge, because everybody knew that the Giants needed more offense if they were going to truly contend with the Padres and the Dodgers and potentially the Diamondbacks in the National League West. This changes the dynamic completely in my mind.
So your colleagues at ESPN wrote about this too, about why the relationship fizzled with Devers and the Red Sox, right? He did not want to move off of third base. So he's going to play where exactly for the Giants? And why is he willing to do that in San Francisco, but he wasn't willing to do that with the Red Sox?
First base is the opening. And look, they got rid of Lamont Wade Jr. because he just wasn't producing there. It's been kind of a black hole for them all year. And it sounds like from the reports that are out there that he is willing to play first base in San Francisco. And I think a lot of that has to do with just the way this went down in Boston. If you remember, he was not happy about moving off third base. But on top of that, according to what Rafael Devers said, when they moved him off third base, they told him, get rid of your glove. You're going to be a DH, and we want you to focus entirely on that. So he's already upset about moving off third base, and they're telling him, be a DH. So he's gonna try to adjust to being a DH, and then they come back to him and say, oh, by the way, Tristan Casas got hurt. We need you to play first base now. And he wasn't happy about that. And you know what? In some ways, I don't blame him. I know a lot of people in Boston do blame him. Yeah. And that's fair. I mean, I think this could have been handled a multitude of different ways on both sides, and it's kind of sad that they got here. But he's going to a new team now, and he's got a fresh, clean slate with the Giants. Matt Chapman, like Alex Bregman, is a Gold Glove third baseman. He's coming into that situation. In Boston, he was the guy. They signed him to a $300+ million contract to be the franchise player.
Yeah.
So he views his role in the Red Sox a lot differently than he views his role with the Giants.
You know, a lot's been written over the past couple of years about how the Giants were unable to go ahead and land superstars, right? They famously courted Aaron Judge a couple of years ago. They've gone after everybody, and they've swung and missed. This deal by Buster Posey tells me one significant thing: Buster Posey is not going to mess around, and the Giants think they have a legitimate chance, not just to be a playoff team, but to win the NL West.
Yeah, and I like the approach too because, as you mentioned, it's been hard for them to reel in big talent in free agency. And when that's the case, especially premium hitters, because they're scared off by Oracle Park, make a trade. Make it happen via trade. And this was an opportunity to strike. And that's why you don't see trades this time of year, but I credit Buster Posey and just the aggressiveness and just getting this done. I mean, this team wasn't going to truly contend if it did not have that big offensive piece, especially Willy Adames off to a slow start. And he got it. And, you know, it took me back to a conversation I had with Buster Posey during spring training. And he talked a lot over the offseason and in that conversation about how he feels that baseball organizations are in the, quote, memory-making business. And it's a lot like the way Peter Seidler saw the Padres. In that he views these teams as civic institutions, right? He wants to win more than anything else. But on top of that, he wants these teams to be memorable to fans. He wants to have players that fans want to go to the ballpark to go see. And the Giants were missing that for a little while. And the first move of the offseason for Buster Posey was he had a hole at shortstop. He was going to go get Willy Adames because he knew that that's the kind of player fans would want to come out and see. Now he sees Rafael Devers out there and he wants to go get him. And yes, it's a lot of money. He's owed roughly $30 million in AAV for the next 8 years. But guess what? The Giants are printing money. Yeah. They have it. They could afford it. If it looks bad on the back end, they could afford to absorb that. This is how the Giants should be acting.
Talking to ESPN's Alden Gonzalez, he was at Petco Park last weekend for Padres and Dodgers. I'm sure you'll see a bunch of him the next 4 days at Dodger Stadium, including the very important, the most anticipated inning in baseball history. Just real quick before we go to Padres and Dodgers, because you're talking about the Giants. You know, the Padres have spent the money. They have superstars, that players that fans want to see, right? You can go with Manny Machado and Tatis and Jackson Merrill. They lock these guys up. I know that Preller was one of the teams. The Padres were one of the teams that checked in on Devers. Now, I don't know if it's part of AJ Preller checks in on everybody. Okay. If there's a single player available out there, as long as he is GM of the Padres, you will always hear about AJ Preller being in on everybody. That's just how this guy is. Do you expect them to be buyers or sellers, or do you really at the deadline, or do you think that maybe the next couple of weeks will dictate what they're going to be at the deadline? This is significant because losing Jackson Merrill is a big deal. I mean, they need to get Tatis going. I still don't know when Yu Darvish is going to pitch. Michael King, I don't know if he pitches again for the Padres this year. It's been so really, really strange about that injury. But just how things are looking, how this market is shaping up, would it shock you if the Padres were sellers?
Yes. Yeah, it would shock me if the Padres were sellers. They're going to be buyers. Look, they didn't trade Dylan Cease or Luis Arias or Robert Suarez or any of those guys in the offseason because they were going to contend. And there's nothing about the way this season has played out that makes you think that the Padres aren't going to be in it. Okay. They're in it, you know, and Tatis is going to hit. And so are a bunch of other guys in that lineup. And they have holes in their lineup, and it's top heavy, and they need to address it. But they're better than this. Tatis will hit. Jackson Merrill, I mean, you correct me if I'm wrong, Marty, but it doesn't sound like Jackson Merrill is going to be out long term. Right?
No. It's a concussion injury, so it's the mandatory 7 days. So hopefully, and those are scary. So hopefully he's back next week. But of course, you're not going to rush this kid back. Right.
But this is not, you would think, a season-ending injury or even something that's going to keep him out for several weeks, several months, or anything like that. Right. So, AJ Preller is going to go for it. I have no doubt about it. What can he get? Who can he give up? I mean, you know this better than me. The upper levels of that farm system has dried up in trades in recent years, but. This is the trajectory of this team. Like, they're going to try to go for it every year. And now that, coming off being they could have beaten the Dodgers in the NLDS last year and everything would have been different, right? And they should have beaten the Dodgers. And now they're right there with them. They're going to go for it. They need to address their lineup. We'll see the Yu Darvish and Michael King injuries. Like, those are going to be very important to watch. They're going to need starting pitching help. They're definitely going to need help either at first base or left field or DH or all three. I expect AJ Preller to be aggressive, as is his nature.
What's it going to be like tonight? How much media presence are you expecting at Dodger Stadium to watch Dylan Cease go versus the Dodgers lineup tonight? I mean, what's that going to be like? I'm checking the cheap as of this morning. The cheapest ticket that I saw for Dodgers and Padres is $131.
It's gonna. You know what's interesting, Marty? Dodger Stadium is notorious for having fans show up late because the traffic gets so bad coming in the ballpark. You cannot show up late today. No. You're going to miss Shohei Ohtani. So I expect insane traffic for hours on end. I mean, go back to like when they had the Shohei Ohtani bobbleheads and people were lined up at 7 o'clock in the morning to get into the ballpark. It's not going to be this, but I expect that stadium to be full from the beginning, which I never see. But this is a unique situation because if you don't show up early and get there for first pitch, he's gone. It's going to be 1 inning, maybe 2, nothing more.
Why was now the time for him? I know you meant, and I know like with the plan for Padres with Yu Darvish was they didn't want him to waste pitches, right, on rehab outings, but that hasn't worked out for them. Why was this the right time for Ohtani?
Yeah, I think it speaks to the uniqueness of his situation. Yes, the Dodgers are very hurt. We have 14 pitchers on the injured list, 4 really important starting pitchers. But it's not really about that as much. They've been hurt for a while, right? And they've been slow with Ohtani's rehab. The biggest reason is they learned, and Shohei Ohtani in specific communicated, that these simulated games are having diminishing returns for him and his body. And they were a little bit more taxing because, I mean, you were in San Diego last week. Yep. He had a sim game at 2 o'clock in the afternoon that day. All right. He threw 44 pitches over the course of 3 innings. After that, he's doing a maintenance program on his right elbow and on his left shoulder. And he's basically cooling down. Okay. And then he's got to ramp back up to be a designated hitter in that night's game. According to what I was told, that is more taxing on his body than pitching and DHing in the same game. And so when you layer that on top of the fact that he's got that two-way player designation, which means that he basically counts as an extra pitcher on the roster. So whoever would have started today's game, right, can pitch after him. So he'll pitch 1 or 2 innings, and it doesn't cost the Dodgers anything. Somebody will pitch after him. And so they figured, and this was Ohtani dictating this,
of course,
they might as well just continue his rehab in a major league game. It's easier on him. And they feel like, I mean, his command is good enough already. Is he where he needs to be right now? No. He probably won't be until after the All-Star break. But they didn't treat this like a traditional rehab because this is not a traditional player. There's no playbook for this. A lot of this was communication between Dodgers and Shohei, and he seemingly expressed that this was better for him, and they went for it.
Ohtani tonight for an inning. Is there a pitch count? Just give him an inning no matter what.
I don't know about a pitch count. His last one was 44 pitches over 3. Okay. His third inning was 23 pitches. So nothing more than that. If he's got like a 9-pitch first inning, I wouldn't be shocked if he came back out for a second. But I don't know about a strict pitch count.
And he's leading off. He's again, off. Of course he is. So Ohtani, TBD, I guess tomorrow, another bullpen game. So it's going to be like back-to-back bullpen games, right? Essentially for the Dodgers with Ohtani being limited today. Tomorrow, Yamamoto is on Wednesday, and then Clayton Kershaw is back on Thursday, and he was great in his last outing too. So we'll see. Padres will get their first look at Clayton Kershaw on Thursday. What did you take away, Alden? Padres, Dodgers, the first 3-game series.
From a Dodgers perspective, they are incredibly shorthanded, and they're just trying to survive this stretch. And all their pitching injuries have coincided at a time when they're going through the roughest portion of their schedule. So this has been a tough stretch for them. From the Padres, I mean, you showed the clip of Jeremiah Estrada struggling in that outing. It sort of reinforced that for as good as his bullpen has been, a bullpen can't continue to carry you. And when the Dodgers came into town, I mean, you know the number better than me, but the Padres had been winning an insane amount of 1-run games. And that stuff can't continue. And because their depth has been compromised these last couple of off seasons when they've scaled back their payroll, they need their stars to show up more than ever now. And Manny Machado, it seems like, has been carrying this lineup for a while.
It's been I feel like it's been just Manny offensively. I mean, and that's you mentioned getting Tatis going. He finally had a 4-hit game yesterday, but man, he had the worst offensive month of his career in the month of May. It's been stunning to watch. So hopefully the Dodgers kind of wake him up.
Yeah, he's got to get going. Jackson Merrill's got to be there. Jake Cronenworth and Xander Bogaerts as well. Because look, the bottom third of that lineup, like it's just there are holes everywhere, and it needs to be the star position players, and it needs to be Dylan Cease pitching like he did against the Dodgers. That was a very encouraging sign for the Padres. So we'll see if he can continue that. He's facing the same lineup again. So it's going to be really interesting to see how that goes. And Yu Darvish and Michael King coming back and Nick Pivetta being good.
Yes.
That's what it's going to take. It needs to be their main guys. I know that sounds boring and oversimplified, but that's what it's got to be with the Padres.
Padres will have Dylan Cease tonight, Randy Vasquez tomorrow, Stephen Kolek on Wednesday, Ryan Berger on Thursday. You're probably like, who is Ryan Berger? That's a great question. And they had to call up someone named Trenton Brooks to go ahead and replace Jackson Merrill. I was so much looking forward to Padres and Dodgers. I just wasn't expecting the Padres to look like this. We've been talking about Yu Darvish in spring training, and I think that they were hopeful they get him back, but that's baseball. Right now, then. With what's not with who's available down the road with guys on the roster. Who is the best team in the National League West right now based on who's available?
Based on who's available.
Not on potential of, hey,
Ohtani
comes back. I mean, it's right. You win with pitching, and the Giants might have the best pitching staff overall in the West.
I'll tell you this. It's not the Dodgers because Glasnow and Snell and Roki are not there. Now, Glasnow and Snell will eventually be there, but they're not there right now. So I can't pick them. It's not the Diamondbacks because Corbin Burns is out for the year and Justin Martinez is out for the year. And they haven't really played well. It's not the Padres, right? Because Yu Darvish and Michael King are not available. Jackson Merrill's not out there. So if you're taking like current rosters, it's the Giants. Rafael Devers being it. Matt Chapman's not in their lineup, so that's a big blow. But Logan Webb and Robbie Ray have been arguably the best 1-2 combination in baseball from a rotation standpoint. Their bullpen, as we talked about, has been lights out. Their lineup is what was lacking, and now you've got Rafael Devers in there. But so right now, I take the Giants. But look, I mean, Merrill's going to come back. Blake Snell and Tyler Glasnow are going to come back. And my only hope with these things is that everybody's as healthy as can be. Because that's when we really see who's the best team. And unfortunately, baseball has become a game of attrition, more so in recent years than ever, I think. And I want key guys to be factors. And we're setting ourselves up for a really fun NL West race. And I hope we actually get it.
3-team race. I think you're right. What time are you heading to Dodger Stadium? Because Alden, you can't get stuck in traffic, and you don't want to miss that first inning. That's gonna be insane, man. If you're
soon.
I know. Listen, but if you're a baseball fan, it's gonna be electric. You've been there for several moments in Dodger Stadium. I can't imagine there's gonna be anything like this. The $700 million man making his first appearance as a pitcher for his new team.
It's so fun. I remember watching the WBC, having literal chills in the press box, watching Shohei Ohtani come back in the dugout from second base and grabbing his glove and jogging out to the mound. And I'm like, oh my God, he's really going to pitch the 9th inning of this game against Team USA, when he eventually struck out Mike Trout to win the championship. It's not going to be that, but just watching somebody do both. I missed it. I watched a lot of it when he was with the Angels, and it's so much fun. Like, it's just baseball in its purest form, but at the highest level. And even if it's only an inning, maybe two, the fact that we're here again, I think is so great for the game.
I completely agree. Alden, you're the best. Thank you for your time. Look forward to doing this again. I might see you. I'm not sure if I can brave it to Dodger Stadium. Man, these 7-10 games. And I feel like every single game, and it's something that Dave Roberts alluded to when he was talking about how Mike Schultz managed. He's managing these games like a playoff game. So every single game is going to be like 3+ hours, especially when you add in the back-to-back bullpen games the Dodgers are going to have. So, man, buckle up. Thanks again, Alden. I appreciate you.
Thank you, Marty. Take care.
So that was Alden Gonzalez from ESPN. It should be fun. It should be fun at Dodger Stadium. Not fun. It should be electric, at least for the first inning, but it's just a massive bummer for the Padres that Jackson Merrill is going to miss this series. He's out this week. Hopefully he recovers well. That is a scary situation. The wooziness, dealing with a concussion. He's back on the IL for the second time. The first time was the hamstring injury. Man, the Padres need Dylan Cease to deliver like an ace. They need Manny Machado to keep being himself. They need Tatis. They need the version of Tatis that we saw in a very small sample size against the D-backs versus the Dodgers. Dylan Cease versus Otani. Vasquez tomorrow versus TBD, Yamamoto and Kolek on Wednesday, and then Ryan Berger and Clayton Kershaw will be the finale on Thursday. All right, guys, Thank you for your time. Don't forget that we'll have AJ Cassavell here tomorrow. Hopefully we'll get a more positive news on Jackson Merrill, who is not with the Padres anymore in Los Angeles. I think the UT reported that he is back in San Diego to recover. So all the best to Jackson Merrill tomorrow. AJ Cassavell. Send your questions here. You can contact me at Marty Caswell. At Marty Caswell on the Twitter, or at Marty Caswell 619 on the IG. All right, guys. As we wrap this show, I'm going to play just a little bit of your least favorite Dodger, Max Muncy, with actually some nice things that he had to say about playing the Padres and about Manny Machado. Here is Max Muncy.
Play this Padres team, like where it's turned into.
I mean, like I said, it is a rivalry in every sense of the word. And you know, I know people take it the wrong way, and I don't mean it that. But like, just for me, in terms of the word rival, like you don't just pick and choose. Like, you know, the example I always use is if Ohio State plays Penn State in the championship game for 10 straight years, who's their rival? Well, it's Michigan, right? So it's like, you know, you can have good teams that you have rivalry-like situations with. And like I said, this is a rivalry in every sense of the word, except for the fact that for me, I believe you only have one rival at the time. You know, but that's not saying that these games aren't more intense than when we do play the Giants, you know? That's what it's turned into. They're very intense games. They're very fun games. The atmosphere is electric. It's everything about it is a lot of fun. And, you know, it's become challenging over the last couple of years.
I imagine the Dodgers are hated like in every single ballpark you go to, because you guys are the Dodgers, right? And you have this lineup. What's it like specifically when you were at Petco Park? Like, how has that changed over the past 4 years or so?
I mean, you know, for me, when I first got here, when we would come down here, you know, there'd be almost maybe 60% Dodger fans in the stadium, and you know, it's always been packed every time we come here, and you know, it's a beautiful setting. It's always amazing. But you know, the first couple of years that I came down here, it was probably 60 to 70% Dodger fans, versus now it's maybe 5% Dodger fans. You know, the city's rallied behind their team, and it's made the atmosphere very tough, very hostile. And you know, in terms of just the atmosphere of baseball, it's electric, and it's a lot of fun to be a part of it.
Last thing, as a fellow third baseman, like Manny Machado's been the constant, I think, in the Padres since you've been with the Dodgers. How has he evolved as a player? What have you noticed about him, his involvement over the past?
I mean, Manny's one of the best players in the game. You know, just the things he can do. It's almost unnatural sometimes. You know, some of the throws he can make, some of the you know the balls that he can hit. You know, I'm always impressed by Manny, just the way he can play the game, and you know, like I said, he's one of the best players of this generation in this game, and you know, it's been fun getting to play against him for all these years.
So that's Max Muncy talking about how electric it's been at Petco Park. I'm sure it'll be a lot of the same at Dodger Stadium, 4-game series, Padres and Dodgers. We're going to learn a lot more about this Padres team during that stretch. Perhaps a lot more about who Trenton Brooks is. But listen, the main thing is the Padres need Manny Machado to keeping himself, and they need Tatis, man. They need Fernando Tatis Jr. to be the absolute superstar that he is. Hopefully that the Dodgers can bring out the best. Thanks, guys. Have a great day. We will talk tomorrow with AJ Cassavell. We're brought to you by the all-new Hamul Casino Resort, the Players Place. Have a wonderful day.
Jackson Merrill says that's the nastiest cutter he's ever faced.
Yeah. I think that's the only way to get Jackson out is throw under the hidden speed and throw 48-mile-an-hour cutters.
What have you thought about Jackson Merrill just going into his second year with the
Jackson is, it's just, man, he's good for the game. He's great for the Padres. I love watching him play. I love the energy. Wish he was wearing a different uniform because we got to deal with that guy. We're going to have to deal with him for a long time. But I love watching him play. Love it.